my goodness, it's amazing how 4 o'clock just sneaks up on you. We'll get a little organized here, running a little late. It's Blair and Barker.
Yeah, it's the hockey.
Congrats to the Florida Panthers.
You've been waiting all day to say that, haven't you?
On behalf of every Winnipeg Jets fan, season's ticket holder out there. All kidding aside, I've been lucky amongst the many people I've sat alongside at different points on the radio. Paul Maurice was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time in way back when I was filling in for McCowan. Paul Maurice was on a couple of times. Love Paul Maurice, very happy for him. And all kidding aside, congratulations. Congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. That was a hell of a run. Connor McDavid, man. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, what happened to him last time?
You surprised that he didn't come? He was named the winner of the Conn Smythe.
Everybody thought that was odd, huh?
I don't know.
Was it? He didn't even show up to get the trophy.
I think you
or
do.
the plaque, or whatever you want to call it.
I think you come out to get it. I understand you're upset it's Game 7, but yeah, I think you come out.
It sort of takes away from what the other team just did against you, no?
No, you come out, get the thing.
I wouldn't have came out and got it either.
Come out, get the thing, get the hell
out of there.
You
want to give it to me, just bring it to me.
Yeah, maybe.
McJesus.
Anyhow. Oh, Derek Brandeo says it wasn't always presented on ice. Well, there you go. Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Yeah, but that doesn't say that nobody could go to the guy and go, hey, you just
guys in the losers in the past have come out to get it.
I
whatever.
wouldn't have shown up either, but they.
Yeah. Anyhow, so those of you who are just joining the baseball season now that hockey's over, Jays are in the middle of a 7-game winning streak. They've got a 4.5-game lead atop the American League East, and they're sending 4 players to the All-Star game, it looks like. And lots of trade rumors out there, lots of rumors that they're adding.
You actually got through that without cracking a smile, that's special. You've been working on that?
No, it just came to me just a minute ago while I was getting my coffee. The Jays, 7-6 losers. Let's get back to reality, Blair. The Jays, 7-6 losers last night to the Boston Red Sox. They've lost 7, count them, 7 games in a row. The club record is 12, set in 1981.
No way that happens.
12 in a row?
12?
There have been, 1, 2, 3, 4 Jays teams had 8-game losing streaks. 5 had 9-game losing streaks. 94 had 10. 77 had 11. 78, 79.
Yeah, Bella's going to be a handful tonight with the changeup and the sinker, and if he's got the little extra gear.
It's not, yeah. He's, let's face it right now.
But but the defense might be it might look a little different. Now, I just looked it up in the shocker, the Jays haven't came out with their lineup yet.
Yeah, but, last night is, if you wanted to basically have a House of Horrors bingo card for the Blue Jays 2024 season, you had it all covered. You had a Spencer Horwitz error. You had a pop-up that fell between IKF and Barger. You had a balk the eventual winning run to second base. That's always nice to have. You had a whole bunch of maneuverings by the manager to get the matchup he wanted, and of course, it resulted in a 2-run home run. What else did he have? Tim Mesa came in, weak single. Tyler O'Neill hits a fly ball to center field 99.9% of the time. Kevin Kiermaier catches it. This was the 0.01% of the time he didn't know. So I basically ran a whole gamut of Rami Gonzalez. That was the pinch hitter who came in against Zach Pop. Anyhow, the Jays had a runner on first base. That's good. It was Alejandro Kirk. Stuart Baroa came in. He's the leading base stealer in the organization. And, of course, the Jays tried to bunt him over. That didn't work, and he was throwing out steals. So there you go. In and around all that, the Jays had a 5-run 7th inning. Vladdy hit a home run that's probably still traveling. It makes me think, if Vladdy's a free agent, if the Boston Red Sox do not get all over Vladdy when he's a free agent.
Yeah.
Did I leave anything out, Kevin? Oh, Chris Bassett.
Excellent.
Tremendous. I seldom feel sorry for pro athletes because stuff happens.
Don't.
No, but he deserved to win last So there you go. And the good news, Bo Bichette has been reinstated from the 10-day IL. He'll be active for tonight's game. Stuart Baroa, that may have been his only shot in the majors.
Probably.
He is back down at AAA where he can steal bases to his heart's content.
Be nice.
I am.
Well,
I
you said that like, stay hot, kid. We'll never see you again. Kind of remark. That's what you said.
What I'm saying is, I don't get. I don't get how, and yes, they lost it with the bullpen and all that stuff, and the switches that didn't work, and Rami Gonzalez, whatever the hell the guy's name is. I mean, all this stuff that happened, 2-run single, and then Jarren Duran walks it off. How Jarren Duran is got to be a dark horse MVP candidate right now. But anyhow,
strong.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's Sports Talk Radio. Today. It's Sports Talk Radio, and no one's going to remember what we said.
Welcome to Earth, buddy. I mean, that's what's happening.
I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
It seldom happens.
Something about Baroa.
Oh, I was just saying. It's obvious that he's trying to steal second.
Yeah.
I want to see him steal second. We all want to. We were watching the game remote. You and I are watching it. I want to see, and you're going, what's Kiermaier doing? And of course, all that happens is when Kenley Jansen gets to kind of time up a runner, right? Which he was doing. He's kind of timing up the runner because he's running a foul. He's running foul, and all this stuff, and he's running calibrating.
There
Thank you. When he and the catcher get a chance to do that, I mean, you see what you get. Caught stealing, and I was going to say it's the most frustrating loss of the year, but that would be lying, I think. Because, I mean, I went back and looked at my book, and I've got, like, little marks about stuff that happened in the game. I got a lot of marks about, like, deflating.
So it basically sounds like you want to throw in the towel and the season's over for the Toronto Blue Jays. That's sort of the theme of your conversation here early in our show is that you would like to punt on the season and start backing up the truck.
6 runs. Vladdy's on what counts for him a bit of a heater right now. They scored 6 runs and they lost 7-6 because they couldn't make a couple of defensive plays that are, the Kiermaier one, I mean, that's going to happen, but they couldn't make a couple of beyond routine defensive plays. And this gets back to something that we need to have a conversation about, and we'll bring Joe Siddall in. It's great that everybody's excited about Davis Schneider and Addison Barger, and Spencer Horwitz is doing great things at the plate. Mm-hmm. And God knows that given the way everybody else in this team has failed to hit, they've been important. But, folks, at some point, it gets back to this. Your starting pitching is dependent on your defense to maximize the results. That's the only way you're going to get a maximum return from this team. So my concern is you're seeing marginal offensive gains, and in return, you're really, really sacrificing run prevention. I get why it's being done.
Yeah. It'd be better today.
I don't know if I wouldn't do anything different.
But Bo's back. He'll play short. IKF will play third. Varsho's hopefully healthy. He'll play left. Springer's in right. Kiermaier hopefully is in center. Like, they'll put their best defense on the field, you would assume, today. Whoever's playing second, between Schneider and Horwitz and whoever you want to throw out there, and then they'll have the bench the way they want to have the bench, and you can't complain anymore about them not catching the baseball. Look, I'm getting them complaints too. Like, I'm pretty in tune with the people that are around that team, and I'm getting some phone calls and some conversations back and forth that I normally don't get. So, yeah, it's a thing, right? This is what happens when you're losing, and, it's just sort of when the game starts, it's almost like you're expected to lose. Yeah. And how do you get out of it? That's the big question. You just can't quit.
I mean, it just seems to me, that, really, this basically what they've done is they brought up a bunch of designated hitters, and they're trying to fit them into positions in the field. And you know what? Let's bring in Joe Siddall, our Blue Jays analyst. He is at Fenway Park. Joe, thanks for doing this. I'll let you get to Alex Cora's media availability as soon as possible, and you can find out for us what he has planned to torture the Blue Jays tonight after last night. Hey, can we just say right now that the Blue Jays have sacrificed way too much defense for marginal offensive returns. Like, it's a nice it'd be nice if all these young guys came up and hit a ton of home runs and everything was good. And yes, Spencer Horwitz is contributing offensively. There's no doubt about that. But Joe, their defense is awful.
Yeah, it would be nice to say that, Jeff, but I'll also admit that I was the first guy several weeks back that said, get anybody up here and in this lineup that can swing the bats because this offense needs help desperately. So I was all for it. But there are consequences, and you're right. It's the old round hole, square peg, or whatever you want to call it. But that's defense hurt them big time last night, and that's going to happen. And it's not just young players. I mean, we keep saying young players come up, and it's Fenway Park, and there are a lot of people roaring, and the Red Sox are coming back. But we see veteran players make mistakes as well. And, you know, if I were to look at that play 10 more times at third base, I mean, Barger got all turned around. He was in shallow with the left-handed hitter up. He got all turned around. That should be an easy play for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to come over and help him out. Clearly there was a miscommunication there. And whoever's at fault, I'll be talking to both of them today to see exactly what went down because we couldn't see or hear the communication. And then the ball in center field, Kevin Kiermaier, you know, he took a step back, but he looked like he recovered and was going to make that play that we see him make all the time. And the ball hit off his glove and he missed it. It's just, and then if you think about all of the moves, you know, we've been through this a million times. We were last night, but even after the game, I'm looking at my scorebook and going over all the different moves. You know, sooner or later, a pitcher's got to get somebody out, doesn't he? I mean, there was some soft contact. There was some soft contact, absolutely. I didn't love the matchup with Tim Meza against Rafael Devers. I never would. I would prefer not. Tim's struggling right now. I don't want to see him in that high leverage right now. But it's not like he gave up a rocket somewhere either. So there was some soft contact that hurt the Blue Jays, but ultimately they kind of got in their own way again.
Joe, the Blue Jays are one of three teams that have given up at least 100 home runs. They gave up some last night, obviously, to help the Red Sox win the game. As a former catcher, anything you can do to help that along. Misses need to be better, right? We've talked about that a lot. I've heard you talk about that. How do you help it along if you're the catcher behind the dish?
Well, it's a real tough one, Kev, because I'll be the first one to say when you get some of these pitchers like a Zach Pop or like a Nate Pearson, even a Tim Meza with all the movement he gets on his pitches, maybe even Cabrera fits in that role too, is that when those guys are pitching as a catcher, you don't want to move around too much. You got to keep those guys on the plate and trust that the movement's going to work. Well, you know, Zach Pop gave up the game-winning hit on a ball down in the zone, and you live and die with it. And he catches a lot of the plate sometimes, and it doesn't move as much as it should sometimes. When he's really good, we see that sinker just diving like a bowling ball, and other times not so much. And I think, you know, with the injuries, I mean, think of the bullpen last year, guys. I mean, you know, if you would have told me again in spring training that last night, or let's say June 24th, the Blue Jays are going to be at Fenway Park, Chris Bassett's going 7 innings, giving up 2 runs, and then to close it out is going to be Nate Pearson, Tim Meza, and Zach Pop. Yeah. I would have thought you're crazy, and I'd say, what the heck is wrong with this team? Where is everybody? Well, they're all hurt, and they've all underperformed. It's just gone sideways. So now you're asking guys to step up. These are great opportunities last night for Nate Pearson and Zach Pop, and they didn't step up.
I think Bo Bichette should hit second, leave him there the rest of the season. What say you?
What say me is Spencer Horwitz leading off, Bo second, Vladdy third, probably Turner fourth, and then whatever you do after that, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But, yeah, exactly. That's the way I like it. I'm just Isaiah's been excellent in the leadoff spot. You know, nothing against him there, but I just like him down in the order more, his contact ability and all that. I just don't think he's your prototypical leadoff hitter. The way Spencer presents himself in that bat and takes pitches and still doing it also when he's swinging the bat. He just does a lot of things I like in the leadoff spot. And you can say in today's game, but I don't in any game. This isn't the 80s where you're trying to get on and steal second anymore. So for me, a guy that gets on at a high clip, he might also hit a double, and he may hit one on the park too. But then you've got Bo and Vladdy behind him. I think that to me sets up the best. And let's just hope that maybe this time away has helped Bichette, and he can come back. You guys, you know, they're not swinging the bats too badly these last 2 days. They should have won these ball games. I mean, they scored 6 runs last night after Vladdy's homer. I think we could all probably admit that they should have won that game. And then Sunday in Cleveland, you score 5 runs and lose these 3 solo shots. So, you know, that's the way I like it. But, you know, as we're talking, I just got a notification on my computer, and I see Bo's leading off.
There you go. Well, there you go. I have not seen the order, but they got a little bit of breaking news. That's not...
I was off by 1, guys. It looks like it's Bichette, Horwitz, Guerrero, Turner.
Okay, well.
And George is hitting fifth.
Oh.
That's shocking to me, but that's another story for another day, I guess.
Yeah, or another year, preferably. But anyhow, you're right about that. So there you go, Bo Bichette leading off, as we didn't predict. Hey, what are you seeing from Vladdy now that you weren't seeing before? Other than obviously home runs, but what are you seeing from Vladdy you weren't seeing before?
I think when he gets hot and gets rolling, he had such a good stretch there, but we were all joking about all the singles and, the fastballs he was getting to were base hits because he was just hitting them on a line because they were getting deep on him. I think when you spin a ball to him and hang it over the middle of the plate, there's a good chance he might hit it on top of a parking garage somewhere over the Green Monster in Boston. That was unbelievable. But you see the pitch. I think a guy like Bayo tonight, a guy like Houck the other night, they're going to probably do it differently. Last night, too, with Houck. They're going to do it differently. I think they're going to attack him in with the heater. Until he can do that with that heater, they're probably going to stay with that. Now, I say with the fastball, but also that the slider away is a great pitch, and I'm sure the pitcher last night wanted that slider away because you can get him to chase at that. But if you don't get it away, to me, that's the pitch he's going to do the most damage on. That's the pitch that he's going to put into the seats. So I think Bayo tonight, you're going to see a lot of those sinkers in, and he's got the changeup as well. But what I see is when he's going good, things seem to be slowed down. The gather that he has, everything seems to be slowed down, and he's not jumping out there like we saw earlier in the year. Because when you do that and that path becomes a little bit more steep and you're rushing to get to a fastball, Kev, those are all bad words for a hitter, aren't they? Yep. And it comes and goes, and he's so darn talented. We've said that so many times that even when I still don't think he's at his best right now, as well as he's swinging the bat. And even the home run last night, I think he can be better with his move to the ball. And I know it sounds nuts, but when he is right, he does that to fastballs at 95. So until I see that, I'll say that Vladdy's back and Vladdy's Vladdy. But he's just so darn talented and so good that even without, let's call it his A-plus swing, he can still do tremendous damage. He's just uber talented.
What do you see with Danny at the plate?
Danny's a guy for me. I call it squirrel nut. Every squirrel finds a nut. We know what his approach is at the plate, and it's kind of one-dimensional. And if you catch it out front in the right place, he's got a chance to put it in the seats in left field, right? We've seen that. And he can go through hot stretches, which we've seen, and that's where he gets several, hanging sliders or so fastballs up and out over the plate. I wouldn't even say up and out over, I think more down and out over, because the ball up, and I go back to last year, this generally he scuffles with because he's got a funny, little move to the baseball. He'll almost collapse into his front leg. Yep. You'll see his front knee bend, and that's not ideal. Most good hitters, when you watch video, that front leg stops and it straightens out. It straightens out, and then they get that tilt back. Mm-hmm. He kind of sinks into it. A little bit like Matt Chapman last year. They were similar in that regard, and that's why they struggle with the elevated fastball, the pitch up in the zone. But if you get that 92, 93 down in the zone a little bit, middle to down, or if you hang that slider middle, he could get the bad head out, and if the timing is perfect, he's going to do damage. But the problem with that is that it's not it's not conducive to a consistently good approach to hitting, and that's why you can fall into lapses like he's in right now. So it can be streaky, it can be hot and cold when he's right and he's getting the pitches in the right spot. He can do a lot of damage, but you can also go through these stretches. And I think, again, a guy like tonight with Bayo, if he elevates that fastball and then uses the spin away. One thing that saves Danny a little bit, and it's not right now, obviously, but he does have a pretty good knowledge of the strike zone. He's not a big chaser, and that helps a lot for hitters that when they go into slumps. But right now, he's kind of getting himself out a lot. That's why you see so many of those rollovers to the left side.
Joe, I hate to ask this about the clubhouse thing, but I have to. You're around the team a little bit more than we are. When I was on a bad team and we actually got out of whatever we were going through and started winning more baseball games, it was sort of that unity thing, right? Everybody comes together, and because you're struggling, your best guys aren't being your best guys. How can you get a feel from the time that you're in the clubhouse, just with the players? Does it feel like they're together enough that it's just a good week? You have a good week, you win 6 or 7 out of that week. Maybe you got a decent chance here trying to get this thing to 500, making a decent run. Any feel of that?
Well, I think that's definitely the attitude down there. Everyone knows that if you can rattle off 8 of 10 or 9 of 10, and then you can be kind of somewhat back in it at least. So you have to have that attitude, and I think they all do have that attitude. But, Kev, we've been waiting several weeks for this, right? Yeah. Like, I would say, like, 3 and 4 and 5 weeks ago, we were saying the same thing. Now, it wasn't that long ago, right? Was it just a week and a half ago that there were a couple out of the wild card spot? So that's how fast it can turn. So, yeah, if they can rattle off and get hot, things can change quickly. But, you know, I don't know what the vibe is among teammates. I know from afar here that it seems like that's going to be tough to do with what they're throwing out there every day. And the starting pitchers now, you know, Bassett saved the day last night, but, you know, Kikuchi had a rough one, and now you got Gausman tonight against these guys, and this is not an ideal matchup against all these left-handed hitters in this lineup. You know, we talk about chemistry and attitude in the room and all those things. Well, you know what? You know who gets along really well right now? The Boston Red Sox players, because they're red hot.
They're right.
You know, winning does it all, right? I mean, winning will help a lot. The Blue Jays win 6 in a row right now. You're going to see a lot of best friends in there.
Yeah, and that Jays schedule's is not the easiest, right? You got two more with the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, and the Mariners. Like, boy, you're going to have to give that other team 27 outs. That's it. Well, can they consistently do that, right?
And that's what my point in terms of being realistic. It's really tough, especially without the back end of your bullpen. I mean, you're missing all of your studs from the back of the bullpen last year. Yeah. And many of them aren't the same as they were. Some are hurt. It's just, I mean, you need last year's Jimmy Garcia back tomorrow. You need Romano from last year back tomorrow. You need last year's Swanson back tomorrow. And those things aren't happening. So it's going to be very, very difficult, because then you put guys into other situations like we saw last night. Pearson made a pop, and it didn't work. And it's hard to ask that to work, because that's not how you plan things.
Joe, we're going to let you run. I know Alex Cora's media availability is in about 10 minutes. Thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Have fun.
All right, boys. Enjoy it.
Take care. That's Joe Siddall, Blue Jays analyst on Sportsnet. And, the Jays lineup is out, and I'll just run through it. Bichette, Horwitz, Guerrero, Turner, Springer, Barger, Jansen, IKF, and Kiermaier. So you're going righty, lefty, righty, 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 left, righty, righty, left.
Yeah, no Schneider and no Clement. They must take Clement.
I mean, that's
unless
he's hurt. I mean, I don't know.
He pinch hit the other day.
Yeah,
he ain't hurt.
I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
I
mean, IKF's playing third.
Yes.
Yeah. So who's playing second?
Horwitz.
Yeah, their defense is better today. Like, you got Kiermaier in center, and is Varsho playing?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's an obvious whole left field look. I mean, that left field at Fenway Park's not the hardest to play, right? I mean, you play in, the ball over your head's normally off that wall. The center fielder can help you. Like, right. It's not the hardest. The only way to play, I wouldn't think.
It's the only way you can get Horwitz's bat in the lineup. I was thinking DHing. I mean, Turner, you're seeing some life out of Turner right now, so he's not going to DH.
He's having much better.
You want IKF. Your maximum defense, such as it is probably Clement, Bichette, IKF at second, but it doesn't. Like, I can see why they're doing what they're doing here. I mean, I guess Barger, you've got him on the team. He's the lefty bat, but no Davis Schneider, no Ernie Clement, which
I don't really.
I mean, I understand that there are people out there saying, Jeff, you spend an inordinate amount of time talking about Ernie Clement, which is true, but that's because generally the dude hits or has hit this year, and he's not a butcher in the field. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Ernie Clement carries you to the promised land. I'm just wondering why there doesn't seem to be as much faith in Ernie Clement. I was going to say as there is in George Springer, but we all know why, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow. So no surprise if you go on any of the national baseball sites now. I mean, any of them. Or follow any of the national writers on X or whatever the hell it's called today.
It's been X for a while.
Elon Sewer, I prefer to call it that. If you go on that, you know that, and this is predictable, right? Team plays the way the Jays are playing. Team looks the way the Jays have looked. You're starting to hear more and more Jays players' names come up in trade rumors. That's understandable. That's par for the course. Sometimes there's a little bit where there's smoke. There's a little bit of fire. Sometimes it's just smoke from somebody else's fire that's kind of that's kind of wafted in. But it's pretty clear that the industry is more interested in what the Blue Jays are going to do now than they were about 10 days ago, because there really is the sense that magical winning streak that Ross Atkins says this team needs. And he's right. They need a winning streak. Mm-hmm. There's just a sense that it's just not happening, that this team isn't good enough to pull off that type of streak. Bob Nightengale is USA Today's national baseball columnist. Bob Nightengale joins us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, 7:10 will be the first pitch tonight from Fenway Park as the Blue Jays look to even up their series. Barker, you're smirking. Their series against the Boston Red Sox. Brian Bale on the mound for the Red Sox. Kevin Gossman for the Blue Jays. The Jays coming off a 7-6 loss last night that was just
predictable,
almost breathtaking in its predictability.
There you go.
Here I went from a game where Vladdy hit a huge home run and John put a hit and run on to stay out of the double play that helped in that inning. And I was thinking Chris Bassett was great. He left leading 6-2. I'm thinking, man, if they win this game 6-2, listen, I don't think there's a turning point to this season. Honestly, I don't think there's a turning point out there. But I thought, okay, 6-2, at least these guys are going to be able to feel better about themselves for a while. And we all know what happened. 7-6, just an implosion by the bullpen. Misplays defensively, and the Jays have lost 7 in a row. Let's bring in Bob Nightengale of USA Today. Bob, thanks for joining us on Blair and Barker today. But before we talk about the Jays for a minute, you just sent out something on X about the Dodgers a couple of hours ago getting more endorsement money coming from Japan since the signing of Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Do we have any idea how much money they've made so far? Because honest to God, if it isn't you, it's shaken. I swear to God, every day I sign on, somebody's tweeting that another company is signing a marketing agreement with the Dodgers. Like, this must be, it doesn't surprise me, but this must be almost some sort of record, is it not?
Oh, it's got to be. I mean, Ohtani himself makes about $65 million a year off the field. I mean, I think all the players in baseball combined don't make that off the field. And the Dodgers, what they're doing, they're making enough money to pay both these guys' salaries. I mean, even if you don't factor in the deferred money, with $70 million for Ohtani, about 25 for Yamamoto, they got to be, pushing close to that amount of money. So those guys are freebies for them.
All right, let's talk about the Blue Jays if we can in the trade market in general. Look, I made the point that about, I guess, a week ago, 10 days ago, the Jays were it looked like they were taking a run at 500, which was a nice starting point. The wild card hadn't gotten away from them yet, even though it's only June, and I can't believe I'm talking about the wild card in the middle of June, or was in the middle of June. But 7 games in a row, I don't think there's any pixie dust here. What is the industry like? Try to separate this for a minute. Does the industry think that there is a chance that Bo or Vladdy will be moved, or does the industry think, from what you've heard, that it's more likely that it would be, maybe a Danny Jansen or a Justin Turner or a Kikuchi, who's guys who are eligible for free agency, or maybe, I don't know, he's pitching well now, maybe a Chris Bassett. Does the industry sort of see that as inevitable almost for these guys, or are they just kind of waiting and, like the rest of us, trying to figure out what the Jays think they have right now?
No, I think the industry thinks all those guys will be available. At least, they'll listen on Bichette. They'll listen on Guerrero. They don't have to move them. They got them for next year. The other guys, I would think would be gone. I mean, you can only stay with those guys for so long. See, a classic underachieving team, once again. I mean, there's no way in the world these guys should have the 4th worst record in the American League.
Bob, any idea who has more value, Bo or Vladdy?
I think Vladdy, just because he can, I'm not saying Bo can either, but Vladdy can change the game. He can get hot and be that guy. Obviously, Bo plays a more premier position, but I think Vladdy is the type of guy like, okay, he can step up there in September and October and carry that team a long way.
Bob, you think this changes anything that they would do at the trade deadline determined on maybe the what's going on with the front office. They may not be here basically soon. Would that change how they go about the trade deadline, you think?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, look at last year, the Chicago White Sox, they fired, their guys, Kenny Williams or Rick Hahn, after the trade deadline. I think, obviously, Mark Shapiro's got a lot of input in there. So no matter what they decide, I don't think it's going to play a factor. I think even if they plan to make some changes in the current regime, you still go about business as usual and make those moves. But obviously, it's got to be approved by Shapiro and ownership and everything else.
Yeah. One of the things that one of the chips that we thought might be played at the trade deadline or at some point was Aurelvis Martinez. He's clearly the position player closest to being major league ready in this team's minor league system. Of course, now he's been busted. He's got the 80-game suspension for PEDs. I would think, Bob, for a guy whose calling card has been power, that's probably going to raise some red flags for other teams. Do you see any way that at some point, whether it's in the offseason and the Jays need to realign some things, is Aurelvis Martinez, do you think, kind of damaged goods right now?
Oh, he's definitely damaged goods. I mean, now if you're a team, say you're a team interested in him, you don't know which the real Martinez is. Look at Fernando Tatis Jr. He's never been the same since he got popped for steroids. Hasn't come close, injury prone. So a case like here is like, hey, wait a minute now. Let me see what he plays like when he's clean. So I don't see any team touching him because you really don't know.
Bob, do you have any idea about change of scenery, guys? There's been a lot of rumbles about even who wrote the thing about the Bo and Vladdy having change of scenery might help. I wonder this time of the year if that's a conversation with other teams, right? Thinking that they could poke and prod a little bit at a team, say like the Blue Jays, that are hearing a little bit of that. I have no idea. I haven't heard that. But it is interesting that it's been written about and, that they've even talked about that those two players may need a change of scenery. And any of that would go into other teams trying to get those kind of players from a team like the Blue Jays.
Oh, I think absolutely. Not just to pick on those two guys. I think any player, if you're on a losing team, that just brings you down. You're not the same guy. Look at Dylan Cease, what he's doing for the Padres, is very good. And he was in that losing atmosphere last year with the White Sox, and just much better. I think it just brings you up. No matter who it is on a losing team, you just get lifted up. Look at Juan Soto. Juan Soto is so much better now than he was with the Padres. Yep. He was very mediocre with the Padres, and he's a much better player now than he's with New York.
Yeah.
Are we nearing the point where Clayton Kershaw just calls it a day? Do you think, or do you think he's still going to keep at this?
I don't think he wants to go out this way, so I think he keeps going at it and hopes he comes back, and then we'll see how he does, whether this may be it. And you would think this would be it. Without last year might be it too.
That's right.
But I don't think you go through all the rehab and everything else and call it quits. I think you got to do everything possible to get back.
What do you think the Dodgers do? Speaking of the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, I don't think he's enough to move the needle when it comes to them winning a World Series. I think they sort of are what they are. He'd be just like that little piece that can help wherever they're putting him in. What do you think the Dodgers do long term? Like they're going out and you think they're sort of all in and going for that big time pitcher? I would assume that's what they're going for.
Yeah, I think they're all in, whether outfielder, whether it's Luis Robert, whether it's another starting pitcher. You just have way too much money invested in this team to not go full juggler. I think they have to be aggressive because I think in Los Angeles, with all the hype and stuff like that, anything shy of at least a World Series appearance will be an absolute failure.
Yeah.
Bob, really good of you to join us today. Thanks so much, man. Awesome. Appreciate it. Be well.
Bob.
All right. Good guys.
See ya.
Take care. Bob Nightengale of USA Today. And that's, it's interesting. I wondered about Aurelvis. We didn't really touch on it yesterday because we were kind of dealing with the whole, just the actual guts of the thing. But, let's be clear. If yes, this organization needs to find some pretty cheap position players sometime soon. Mm-hmm. And you'd love to think that Aurelvis could come up here and contribute. But look, there was also a fact that if you were looking at making a major move, he was a guy you could incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, when your calling card is power and you've been, popped for PEDs, I don't care what the story is. And I'm not saying that his story isn't accurate.
Yeah.
But it's just, the industry, man. It's, you're not going to get as much for him as you would have because teams are going to be worried.
Yeah, and two, on top of it, what position he's on?
Well, that was I said. The one thing he does do is hit home runs, and now, I mean,
you have no idea what kind of hitter he is. I mean, can he take a breaking ball the other way, backspin it for a homer? We have really no idea what that is. I'm with you. You'd have to really know the player's personality and get to know him. How would a team ever know that? So, to say that his values went way down, and I don't even know what the Blue Jays do with him. I mean, again, he's 22 years old.
I think the Blue Jays, you bring him in, what are you going to do with him? You bring him in, he's still your guy. You're going to need some cheap players. Hopefully not too many cheap players next year because we're seeing what that looks like, but you're going to need some cheap players next year. And if you do think that you have a chance at signing Vladdy or Bo, that's going to cost you a fair amount of money. You'd like to have somebody playing every day who is earning the major league minimum. But, I was telling you, I texted a guy in the organization in spring training, and the guy's been in the minor system for a while. And one of his concerns was, he said, I'm just not entirely certain that we don't have a bunch of DHs. Because and Buck's talked about this as well, right? I mean, this whole idea of versatility is great, but I don't think it should necessarily be. I'm not certain I want 6 guys who play 3 positions, one okay and the rest kind of okay. I don't want to build my team around guys like that. I want to build my team around an everyday third baseman, an everyday shortstop, an everyday first baseman. I need my catcher. And if you want to fill in with DH and all that, that's fine. But I'll just ask you, you look at this team right now. Look at the American League East. Include the Red Sox in this. Maybe we'll leave Tampa Bay aside because they're a little rocky. Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox. Which J makes the starting lineup?
Vladdy.
Exactly. Maybe Bo, but, Anthony Volpe's.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Maybe those two. Who else makes it? With all due respect to any of the other guys, nobody else in this team is making that lineup. Maybe not even close.
Yeah, maybe Varsho might be in the mix, bottom of the order, playing the way he plays the outfield defense. Like he'd be in the mix maybe for a Red Sox team. Like, they'd find a place for him the way he plays defense.
But
you could throw Danny.
You get my point.
You could throw Danny Jansen in there. Yeah, look, I'm not even sure they got a lot of DHs. Like, I think you're being awfully nice when it comes to.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, no. What I'm saying is, though, they got a bunch of guys who have one skill set, like, and they can't play. I mean,
Barger can play the outfield. Horowitz could play first. I mean, he ain't going to destroy you at second base.
Can't play first because you got Vladdy at first.
But for how much longer? It's that kind of thing. I mean, they got a couple of guys who, if you don't try and push out of a familiar position, like, you ain't going to destroy your team. It's just the fact that you're trying to stick a dude in the left. I mean, I get the left field today because of where they're at in Fenway Park, but then you try and stick him at third, and
you got too many.
It's a lot to ask.
You got too many guys who can't play every day because of their defense.
That's the way you say it.
Yeah.
Like, to say that they got more DHs than they got position players.
They've got a ton of guys you do not want the ball hit to.
I think your point is they may have a ton of guys who are not big leaguers. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it.
I think they have a ton of guys who are probably 25th or 26th men on a real good team.
Yeah.
On a good team.
I like Schneider. I like Horowitz.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The Horowitz at bat, you like that.
Although, again,
bottom of the order, hitting second for a team that's trying to make a playoff run, that for me is mind-boggling. I'm sorry, it just really is. Like,
you need to. I think you need to see a little more average out of Schneider for him to play every day.
Barger's easy to pitch to.
Yeah, but listen. I have no problem with Horowitz. I get back to this. Which team is he starting on?
Yeah.
Even in the American, go around the American League.
I mean, it seems like next year going to the offseason, you got to find you a better catcher, a third baseman, not a second baseman. IKF can play second, a left fielder, and a right fielder.
Yeah.
Maybe a closer, maybe a setup guy, and a couple of more starters.
Well, here's the thing.
You got a lot to do.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not entirely convinced that George Springer isn't going to be back here next year as the starting right fielder.
I mean, starting strong. Man alive. Like, if you can continue to run out the $190 that he's giving you.
I don't know what I don't think, listen, I think this organization would swallow money. I don't think that's an issue with these guys.
Maybe not 50 large.
But I don't know about 50.
50's a lot.
I don't know
that's
about 50.
That's a lot of money.
You know.
They may not even be in win mode next year. Depends on how the offseason goes and what happens to the front office. And, you get a different mindset in there. I mean, what that mindset going to want to do? Maybe change things. Change a lot of things.
That's fair.
Like now what are you doing? Like they may go away from the run prevention thing, and that's going to change what you do. Your khakis and all kinds of now you're thinking about blowing some things up, basically starting from the ground up.
Yeah.
How long is that going to take you? It may not be what you see on the field, other than what's going to happen and take place behind closed doors. That's the big thing. So there's a lot going on with this organization. And again, now the Orioles and the Yankees are as good as they are, and the Red Sox seems like they're not far away. And then the Rays are the Rays. Like, are you going for winning the division, or are you fighting to stay around 500 and make the third wild card spot? What do you want to do? I mean, is it okay just to make the playoffs? I think they're past that. With the way the owner wants to spend money, he's not afraid to spend money. They got a lot to do, Jeff. Like,
listen,
they got a lot to do. Like they tried to go this run preventing thing, and
I honestly think what really is settling in with fans now is
run preventing is boring.
They're realizing, and I'm not saying this in any way to call down the fans or anything, but I think people are realizing right now, they're looking at this team. It suddenly occurred to a whole bunch of people that there's a lot that needs to change next year.
Yep.
And some of it's going to happen because of free agency. Yeah. I'll just ask you this. A simple question. Before the start of last season, at any point did we think, you know what the Jays are going to have to do a couple of years down the road? They're going to need an everyday catcher. Because they had Moreno and they had Kirk was doing what Kirk was doing, and Jansen was doing what he's doing. Yeah, again, it tells you how things change. And then you get back to the minor league system. The minor league system, the only thing it's really produced so far is 25th and 26th men. And Arjun Namala probably going to be the next guy, but he's awfully young. Leo Jimenez, all these guys strike you as guys who probably won't be everyday players on really good teams. And that's, and then you couple in what we've seen with Elvis Martinez, and it's,
there's some challenges.
And I keep getting back to this. I think this organization overreacted to losing to Seattle in the playoffs, and I think they underreacted to losing to Minnesota in the playoffs. I think maybe they
got rid of three key pieces and didn't fill in the blanks. Yeah. I mean,
three key every day.
Yeah,
the crucial thing is three key every day.
Game changers, and you could have gotten rid of one of three, two of three, but not all three, and then bring in what you brought in, trusting that the Kirks of the world and the Danny Jansons and the George Springers who are getting older, and it's just a lot to ask. Like, you were putting a lot of, you're banking on a lot of guys to be better than the back of the baseball card, and man, they were seeing some things that a lot of people weren't seeing, including myself.
Yeah, well, and at some point, it would be interesting to find out what exactly they did see with this team, because it's these aren't stupid people. They've got good intentions. I don't doubt that, but I don't know anybody who's seeing what they're seeing.
Well, I'll take Ross at his word. He believed in the coaching staff, and he believed in two guys. He said it. So we'll have to take his word for it.
We're going to be joined by Jeff Francoeur at the top of the hour. He is working the Yankees-Red Sox game, or Yankees-Mets game, and he will join us later. We'll talk to Jeff, and we're going to play a clip from Dan O'Dowd later on in the show that if you listen to this show, you know how much we respect Dan and how he's, people in the industry respect Dan in general, but how much we respect Dan and how much stock we put into his analysis, particularly of the industry writ large. And he had some very interesting things to say about the Blue Jays. And I would call them home truths. So we'll play that later on in the show, and we'll see what we'll see. We'll break that down, and I'm sure it'll provide just for the back leg line this weekend or on Friday, because I'm sure people want to pay attention to it. We've got tickets to give away. Your chance to see the Jays take on the Houston Astros at the Rogers Center. Don't look now, and I don't know how the hell they're doing it, because it seems to me that every one of their pitchers gets hurt or is hurt. But the Houston Astros are winning games, and their GM was on MLB Network today, and they're going for it.
Yeah.
And he now, if you know the owner, Jim Crane, that shouldn't come as a surprise.
No.
But Kevin, it's really rare for a general manager to come out and be as strong about it. And I'm not surprised, because it's the Astros.
Yeah.
And they know what it takes to go to World Series. But my goodness, Dana Brown basically came out and
we're winning a division. I'm gonna go out and make the moves I'm supposed to be making. We all know what we need.
He did not.
We're getting Tucker back in a couple of weeks off that injury. Like, they're going to hit the ground running. Like he said, the front office is going to do their part. Now the lineup and the pitching staff is being pieced together. They're doing their part.
We're
going to make a run at this thing.
I generally think it's good to under-promise and over-deliver. Dana Brown basically came out and said,
winning's a habit. Yeah. I truly believe that. I don't think they now know how to lose. I think that's what it is. They believe they just got off to a tough start, and a bunch of people that mattered got hurt. They were having trouble filling in the blanks. It took good coaching to, come up with different pitches for certain guys that are starting now to sort of get through games and give that lineup a chance to run into one, have the couple of big innings that they need. Yeah, look, you got to think, if you're Seattle, you had them on the ropes. You were meaning to run away with it.
Absolutely.
And you didn't. And now it's going to start to look like this, and the Astros are only 2 games under 500. So, yeah, they're going to be a handful.
Yeah, Seattle right now is 5.5 up. And Houston's run differential's plus 21. It's better than Seattle's, and we all know what run differential meant to Alex Anthopoulos. And guess who Dana Brown worked for?
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see, too, what Seattle does about the offense.
Yeah.
That pitching staff had a thumper. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Francoeur joins us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. Always good to see Caleb Joseph in the building. Having a little Buck Showalter discussion. What if he ends up managing the Jays?
Yeah, well, maybe.
True story about Buck Showalter. Not many people know.
He doesn't like you?
He doesn't even know who the hell I am. I mean, I barely know who I am. Listen, if somebody can come here and save my summer, I may have in the past called him Satan's manager. I think I called him that. I think I called him the man who invented baseball. I mean, whatever. If someone can come and save my summer, SOS, save our summer.
What's that saying? The manager's only as good as the players he's got?
Yeah. Anyhow, true story about because Caleb was here.
Yeah, Caleb.
When the Jays were searching for a general manager when they hired J.P. Ricciardi, one of the people they interviewed was Buck Showalter. He wanted to be GM, and I remember Paul Godfrey talking about his preparation. I mean, he had like piles of notes about what he would do differently with the organization.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Huh. We've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and Astros. And we got a great trivia question. It's got nothing to do with Jerry Seinfeld or anything, thank God, because we pretty much ran the gamut of those. I mean, we had answers were we had stuff about Mariah Carey. We had George Costanza stuff. We had Yankees players appearing in Saturday Night Live. We were really reaching.
You got to remember, the Jays are in last place, 7 games under 500.
It's a trivia question.
Again.
It's a trivia
7 games under 500. Every once in a while, you go outside the box and you give the fans something else to think about. Okay? Like, you don't always have to be that old guy get off my lawn thing, right?
Hey, we're doing Blue Jays talk tonight as well.
You shut up.
We did it last night.
You shut up.
We did it last night. I don't even know who. I know that. I know that the. I know that my wife was watching the hockey game, so I don't know who the hell was listening to us last night. It was good. Go back and listen to it in podcast. It was really good. Barker was tremendous last night,
as usual.
He really was. Let's bring in Jeff Francoeur on Blair and Barker. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Thanks so much. He is, of course, MLB on TBS analyst in New York to call tonight's Mets-Yankees game. We got a lot to talk to you about. First thing I wanted to ask you about, though, is this Edwin Diaz situation. Jeff, are we going to ever, do you think, in the next couple of years, finally put to rest this whole thing about doctoring baseballs and what we can do to increase grip? Is at some point, like, we're sending people to the moon. We did that a long time ago. Like, this can't be that hard. I guess what I'm saying, Jeff, is it can't be that hard to find something that makes everybody happy.
No, I agree. And first off, guys, I got to tell you, it was great. I was told to tell you hi from John Gibbons. We were just talking for about 15 minutes.
Gibby. Awesome.
Really? Gibby said to tell all the people from the good north hello. So, awesome. No, but you know what? I laugh because, if you watch in the Japanese league, the baseballs come and they're already tacked. They're already done. And my thing is, it cannot be this difficult. And I'm like, I've had a few umpires, which I agree. They'll tell me, like, when you go feel a guy's hand, you just know, like, this is not supposed to be like this. Well, my whole point is, if you do what the Japanese league, they've never had an issue. Everybody's got the tacked balls already made, and it's not an issue. But for some reason here, we can't get that right. And I just think it's silly. It's stupid and silly.
Jeff, how about you find them more? The more you find them, the less they're going to do it, right? I mean, the more you get in their pocket.
I agree, right? Yeah. I mean, you hit them with the wallet. That's where it usually hurts. But I'm like, you would think now, I mean, these guys, look, we see it. Every reliever comes in getting checked. You can't hide anymore. You can't get it away. But, again, I just think if you would go to the ball like the Japanese use where it's already tacky, you're not going to have that issue.
You're going to get to see the Yankees tonight, and the Mets as well, but the Yankees in particular tonight. I mean, how good is this team right now? And they're going to roll into Toronto, and I think Garrett Cole is scheduled to pitch in Sunday. To me, Garrett Cole's it's kind of like the nuclear weapon of the American League East race. The Yankees are up there, and here comes the big dog, and Garrett, and Garrett's. I mean, he hasn't been competing much lately, so he's going to be raring to go. What do you think of the Yankees right now? Are they Yankees, Orioles? Who do you think gets the edge right now?
Well, look, I think they're both strong for certain issues. I think the one thing that's interesting with the Yankees is, if you watch, their bullpen has started to leak some oil, and I think the thing for them, is playing the Orioles, playing the Braves, exposed it a little bit. And so it's kind of one of those things you wonder if they're going to be able to kind of, add to that. But, look, they got a great rotation. They obviously have a great lineup. To me, adding Soto is huge, but adding Verdugo, too. He kind of brings an edge to that team that, I think has not necessarily been there for years sometimes with the Yankees. And so I think that was a big piece. But, look, I mean, they're a great baseball team. But if there's one area where you wonder, that bullpen, you wonder sometimes.
Yeah, I think health too, Jeff. If they stay healthy, they're going to be right there as one of the couple of best teams in baseball. What did Gibby say about his Mets? 8-2 in the last 10. He's given some great insight. What did Gibby say?
As Gibby told me, he said, "I'm just a bucket boy during BP, and I just sit here and chew gum, and that's why I love him." he was my bench coach in Kansas City in 11. And
that's right.
He meant the world to me, man. He's just a great baseball dude. And talk about a player's manager, one that lets you have fun, lets you really enjoy things. And, obviously I love him. But look, the Mets are playing well too. But, it's interesting. The National League's got a bunch of kind of mediocre teams kind of, all in the middle there. So it's funny. Everything's kind of at a weird spot right now. And, I know up there for y'all in Toronto, it's been a struggle. I'll be honest. I knew that the Orioles and the Yankees would be good, but I thought obviously the Blue Jays would be in that mix also personally.
Jeff, as a player, do you know in a clubhouse when the season's over? Can you feel it?
Yes, I would say so. I'll be honest with you. I've had that 2 or 3 times in my career where you get to a point you're just kind of like, you always say after about 70, 80 games, your team has is who you are. And I think the tough thing is when you start to look at it, you start to measure yourself up, right? Like, are we going to be able to catch the Orioles and the Yankees? Probably not. And so then you start looking around the league, right? And, someone's obviously got to win the Central Division there. And so you start kind of looking at the wild card. Now, I still think there's plenty enough talent in Toronto to do it. But I will tell you this, that I think it's like anything. They're going to have to show in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks before that deadline that they can make a run at this thing and have a sense of urgency. If not, there's going to be some tough decisions up there come trade deadline.
Jeff, how hard is it to fix chemistry when a whole entire team is going bad?
It's tough, man. I have a podcast I do about youth sports, and we had Tony Dungy on, who's obviously one of the high-character guys. And he used to always tell on his thing, he said, look, chemistry and character won't win you a championship, but it can tear you down. And I think that's a tough thing, right? Like, when you hear, for instance, with the Braves, they've obviously playing better now, but they had a 4-week stretch where they were not good at all. And people were telling me they looked lifeless. Well, as well as I do, guys, when you're not hitting and scoring runs, it's tough to get excited. You look lifeless. And, that's where, you either have to have your pitching step up or you have to have certain guys step up and make things. And they just, like I said, I can't, dead serious, they're probably one of 2 teams that I keep waiting for them to make a move, right? Like, I'm like, they got the talent, they got the hitters, they got the pitching. It just hasn't clicked yet. And so that's the answer that y'all just kind of asked, right? Like, At what point is it like this just is not working this year?
Is it harder, Jeff, for a team to go through a difficult year after it's had a taste of success? We were just talking about the Houston Astros here, and, Dana Brown was on MLB Network today and saying, hey, we're going for it. I want to win the division and good in them and all that. But Kevin made the point. He's got 10, 11, 12 dudes in that clubhouse who are going, well, of course we are because we won the damn thing not that long ago. Does it make it easier to survive a real down period if you've got that winning pedigree?
Yeah, I think so. And if you know where you're going to go, right, if you know what you can do. And I think, that's one thing. Like, look at the Yankees last year. They did not make the playoffs. They weren't very good, but I think they knew they had good players. They knew, but, it's funny enough. You ask some of those guys, and I've asked a couple of them, I won't name them, but, they said they knew last year come, into July, August, it was like, we're just not a playoff team, man.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the pieces. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have it there to do it the next year. And that's, I think, the tough thing for Toronto, right, is because you have some serious guys that have had serious years on the mound, position players-wise, and just because it's clicking this year. And I use this example, right, with the Giants. Think about that with Bochy when they're there. They won it in 10. They won it in 12. They won it in 14. And for some reason, 11 and 13, they just weren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of say why, but at the end of the day, they stuck with who they had, and it paid off for them. But right, those are the tough decisions that GMs and presidents have to make.
Jeff, I would think it's very hard in a clubhouse to not start pointing the finger at the other side, right? When one side's getting it done, the other side's not getting it done. It's very hard for that side that is getting it done to not start pointing the finger, and saying it out loud to the media and those kind of things. Hey, I wonder, Jeff, with Pete Alonso, you're there up close and personal. I see in the last 7 games he's hitting 357. He's got 10 RBIs and 2 homers. What's the difference? Why the little slow start, the up and down season that he's had? Sounds like he's figured it out.
Well, I think the one thing, the great thing, that Mendoza did was move him to the fourth hole and move J.D. Martinez up. Because when I think about J.D. Martinez, guys, I think about a complete hitter, right? Mm-hmm. A guy that goes the other way. And I saw this for years with Freddie Freeman in Atlanta, right? Like, he would go the other way, and guys thrived on that. Guys start to buy into that. And I think you're seeing Pete Alonso, actually, if you go look at some of his hits, they've been singles to right field and stuff like that. So I think you're actually starting to see him change a little bit. And I think a lot of it is to do with J.D. Martinez. You know, J.D. Martinez always credits, of course, playing with Miguel Cabrera, man, one of the best to do it. And, you know, I think when you put those professional hitters in, Aaron Boone, you know, we just talked to him 30 minutes ago, and a guy he kept talking about just time and time again was Juan Soto, what he's done to this lineup and made guys raise who they are. And I think that's what you've got to have I played with Chipper Jones for a year, man. Like, you've got to have that professional hitter on your team, to me, that kind of holds everybody accountable. And I think you're seeing Alonso change a little bit his approach.
It's hard to do that in season. Look, I know pitching's never been better, right? How hard they throw consistently, how you don't see the starting pitcher as much as you'd like to see them. You know, some guys are throwing breaking stuff 60% of the time. Like, it's very hard. Jeff, how do you do that in season to buy in trying to go the other way? Or can you for most of the part?
I think you can, but you have to be very persistent about it. You know, it's funny because, like, I don't know, you sit here and I watched the last 3 games of the College World Series, of course, being from Atlanta and the SEC. And, you know, all these guys just keep throwing away. And it's like, at what point do you sell out, right? Like, what point for Pete Alonso, you know, when there's a guy on third and less than 1 out or less than 2 outs, like, they're giving you the whole right side. Sometimes you need to take the base hit. And I think that's what we talk about all the time. The velocity, the break on these pitches are better than it's ever been. But, guys, I think you can agree the idea of how to pitch is probably the worst it's ever been. The idea to locate, how many 0-2 hits do you see in the big leagues now? Tons. You see a lot of 0-2 hits because guys don't know how to pitch. So, yes, it's the hardest it is to hit, but I think you also get more mistakes thrown your way, so you have to find a way to be able to capitalize on that.
Jeff, really good of you to join us, man. Thanks so much. Terrific insight as always. Say hi to Gibby for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Give Gibby a hug for me.
Yeah. Not for me, but for Barker.
He's got his toothpick and gum in, so he's doing just fine.
All right. Take care, awesome. Jeff. Thanks,
Jeff.
man.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
All right. Jeff Francoeur. We're going to have that game, by the way, on Sportsnet 1, Yankees and Mets tonight. You get lots of camera shots of Gibby. Think Gibby said to say hi to us?
No. Absolutely.
To you.
Jeff, you know.
To you.
Yeah, I know. He put me in right field. Well, so I don't know if we're on the best of terms.
Wrote that he was going to be fired.
I had some choice words for him. Like, you know, what do you smoke?
Actually, that's not true.
I love Gibby. Gibby's always been nice to me. I mean, you know, he's peeled my hair back before about what I've said to him or about him on this show. Like, you know, we've got a track record, me and him. So, you know, the greatest manager in the history of the sport put me in right field the last day of the season in Yankee Stadium. So I've never forgiven him for that.
Hey, Bark, why don't you just not worry about it?
Why don't you just not worry about it?
He'll never be forgotten, Jeff.
He'll never be forgotten.
He's the savior. Maybe he can come here and save this lineup.
Well,
Keep it short, will you?
It worked. It worked the last time they brought Gibby back. What? I'm just saying.
I mean, I never will forget that when I said that about Jose Bautista putting him in the leadoff spot, and Gibby heard that, and I basically said, grow a spine, put him in the leadoff spot, and don't go up and ask him. And I guess Gibby heard that. You know, for whatever reason, they listen to this show, the thing does. And boy, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's
credit
some nice
to him.
words for me.
Credit to him. I did go up to him after I wrote the story that he was going to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
Just vintage Gibby. He said, I mean, at least put it at the top of your story so I'd get the headline, which I thought was pretty.
Yeah, always in the shower, right? Until
no, this is the last
homer.
time they pulled the plug on him. I just wrote a line in a Monday column that he might not survive the end of the homestand or something like that. Gibby said, at least get a headline out of it. Anyhow, we got tickets to give away to see the Jays and Astros. So I don't follow Omar Guzman of Viras Deportivo on X. But I'm going to start now. This is on MLB.com website. Of course, you realize Vladimir Guerrero. We've all talked about how Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has said that he would never play for the New York Yankees, and we've never really determined what the reason is. I think it's based on pretty good information that a lot of it has to do was something involving Vladdy's dad. I don't know if the Yankees offered him or whatever, or anyhow. So in Boston, now this must be yesterday, talking to Omar Guzman, Vladdy said, quote, that he would be happy to help any team, even the Yankees. Quote, now, this is a quote of a translation, right? So, quote, it is not that I am trying to take back what I said about the Yankees, but this is a business. I sat down and spoke with my dad and my family, and this is a business. And I said I would never again talk about this topic, and lots of people have asked me about it. So just that for what it's...
Well, it sounds like they may not bring back Soto. It sounds like that Vladdy wouldn't cost as much as Soto would cost. You're probably not going to have to pay Vladdy as much as you paid Judge. So there's none of that. Rizzo don't look like he's going to play first anymore. The Yankees might need a first baseman. Vladdy's young.
Now, the only thing I will say about that is, they need a first baseman. Can you envision Aaron Judge playing the outfield for another 4 years?
He can DH. Play a little right.
Or play a little first base.
Go stand. And I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do.
No. I know it's not. I know it's not the easiest thing, but
I mean, he's 32 or something.
But he's not. He's 32 and he's had injury. He's not going to play center field till he's 37.
I mean, he can play right. I mean, you put a fast guy in center.
Anyway, we're just, but yeah, it's
it sounds like a dude who hadn't gotten a deal yet, and the Yankees might come a calling.
Yeah.
So you back it up. You say, oops, whoa.
Do you think, looking at...
Sorry, I take it back.
Looking at, let's just say that Vladdy finishes the year. How many home runs does he have now? 9, whatever.
Less than 10.
10? Okay, 9.
No, sure.
Let's say he finishes the year with 20 home runs. I don't know how many RBIs, depending on what the team's like. That's at 20 home runs, 85 RBI, and he hits 290, 295. You going to feel better about him?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. No, I'm just I'm just asking.
Consistently, Vladdy's not the hardest of outs.
Okay.
Until that gets better.
All right, that's fair.
And I think Vladdy needs help. But you stick him in the middle of that Yankees order.
He gets help.
And he's got the donkey standing around him. Yeah, and then you don't have to go up there thinking about, I got to carry a team, and the GM's not going to come out and say that we expect you to take us where we need to go. No, they got guys to do that.
We expect you to take us where we need to go. While we're at it, we're going to take it to arbitration.
I didn't think you thought that was a big deal.
No, but what I'm saying,
that is a big deal. It is a big deal. Absolutely, it is.
What I'm saying is, if we expect you to take us where we need to go, I would think that one of the ways you would
not throw your hands in the air over $1 million. That's what that is.
Or just have serious negotiations about a contract.
Yeah, look, maybe they've had that already. It's not. Who knows?
Yeah, we've been giving you the chance to win Blue Jays tickets all season long here on Blair and Barker. All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question to 590-590. Just get it right. And our last question in the Seinfeld episode, The Chaperone. Character George Costanza famously gets the Yankees to change their uniforms from a polyester material to a more breathable cotton. By the way, our producer, Mark Boffo, said he wanted to have this question there because he just wanted me to hear me say breathable cotton, which I don't get why. Which Yankees player can be heard on the broadcast splitting his new cotton pants at the end of the episode after the material shrinks? The answer is Don Mattingly, who is now currently the Jays offensive coordinator.
I apologize to Boffa. There's a reason why he did it.
Yeah, but it's just that I mean, there's got to be there's got to be a one-liner in there but I'm just not.
There is
about rip pants. And I'm just not going to. Today's question is to win Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Yankees. I think we mean Jays and Astros at the Rogers Center on Monday, July 1st. Because God knows, I was going to say you don't want an extra game against the Yankees, but you may not want an extra game against the Astros. Anyhow, it's the Jays and Astros at the Rogers Center on Monday, July 1st. This longtime player and MLB All-Star was an Astro for 2 seasons in the 2000s. Between longer stints with the Giants and Dodgers, but started out his career as a rookie in the early 90s as a Blue Jay. This is a really good one. This longtime player and MLB All-Star was an Astro for 2 seasons in the 2000s, between longer stints with the Giants and Dodgers, but started out his career as a rookie in the early 90s as a Blue Jay. You can text the answer to 590 for your shot to win. See rules at sportsnet.ca/590. You going to get that one?
No.
Yeah, I needed help. I mean, I need help, but I needed help to get that one.
I was in the dugout when he got slapped in the face. Yeah. Remember Barry Bonds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell were you doing in the dugout?
San Diego. Oh, buddy.
But Barry Bonds was an instant.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the other dugout.
I was the home team.
Okay.
They were the visiting team.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. It was open hand.
What the? Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of his teammates
and
for some reason
Dusty,
that wanted to do that to this guy.
Dusty didn't do a lot of holding me back neither. Like it was, you two do what you do. Good luck.
Stay hot.
Awesome. And for whatever reason, this is no lie, because I didn't do anything with the Padres. I was just sitting over there stealing money. I have no idea. It was like walking by, and as soon as I just happened to look over, midair. No reason, no. Why I happened to look over there, I have no idea. But
you saw it.
I did.
You've seen a couple of things. You saw the
and I saw him I saw Barry hit the scoreboard in the old San Diego Stadium.
You also,
which is 3 miles away from home plate.
Was it the Gibby Shea Hillenbrand thing you saw, or which?
I was sitting right beside him.
And that was the go get him, Gibby. Roy Halladay, right?
No, that was no. You were terrible at this.
What?
No.
Well, what was the one? Go get him, Gibby.
I can't say this out loud.
Okay, all right.
What is the matter with you?
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna stop telling you stuff.
No, it's. I mean,
I'm gonna stop telling
it's funny.
you.
It's
but
funny.
not down in the. Nobody's supposed to know that.
Well, I mean, we all
It's
saw
the Ted Lilly thing. We're throwing knuckleballs when they were up by 15 runs. And Gibby said, "Why are you throwing knuckleballs? Other stuff ain't working." Sorry. And then it was like boom. And then they got them giant gloves. You know, the end of the season little party you have.
No.
They got the giant. Every team has the end of the season party. You get together and everybody buys each other gifts. And everybody bought Gibby and Ted Lilly the big giant gloves.
Oh, the boxing gloves.
Yeah. It's the funniest thing. It was awesome.
I do.
It's the greatest.
Yeah, Ted Lilly was, I think it was Ted Lilly, Brad Arnsberg, when he was a pitching coach, told me. I was asking him questions about Ted and something, and he just looked at me and said, "Jeff, don't you know by now, it's Ted's world. We're just happy to be in it."
Yeah, he was throwing knuckleballs. Doesn't have a knuckleball.
Yeah, he was his own guy.
Yeah, I got a knuckleball. Like today, I got one because the other stuff ain't working. None of it. Fastball's not working.
We're going to take a break and come back with that story because I could just.
Well, you can see Gibby ran out. Well, he ran. I think.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, just to say basically what the bleep you doing.
And the thing is, I can hear both voices. Yeah. I can hear both voices.
Yeah.
And I can and Ted's just deadpan expression. Anyhow, we're going to play audio from an appearance by Dan O'Dowd on the MLB Network in a few minutes. And we're also going to play John Schneider's pregame availability. Of course, you know by now that Bo Bichette is back, and he is leading off, so we have a lot to talk about. It's Blair and Barker. I'm sorry, I've got that vision in my face. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to the Stretch Drive. Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. 7:10 will be the first pitch tonight. The Jays looking to end a 7-game losing streak. Bo Bichette has been activated. Stuart Baroa has been sent down to AAA. Here is the manager of Kevin Barker's Blue Jays, John Schneider.
Is Dalton getting any closer to getting back here?
Yeah, Dalton's feeling better. He's doing more activity today, more hitting, more stuff in the outfield. Kind of waiting for him to feel a little bit better swinging the bat. So kind of see how he is throughout the night today, if he's good to go. And then hopefully targeting tomorrow or Thursday, really.
Is this sort of deal where maybe he's in the right?
Probably, I think so. Again, depending on how he feels, he's going to hit, he's already hit. He's going to hit more during the game. So he could be an option for sure. But definitely, I think defensively are running.
Is it safe to say Bo's probably been good to go for a few days?
Yeah, he's been itching a little bit the last couple days. I think we were being careful with him. We could have maybe held off on it, but you don't want him to go backwards. So he's been raring to go for about 72 hours. I'm happy to have him back.
Comes off 10 days, so you put him right in.
Yeah.
Any hesitation there? Or?
I mean, not in my eyes, because you know what kind of hitter he is. Again, it's a tough ask to sit for 10 and then go lead off a game. But really, if anyone could do it, I think it's him. He's been that good and that talented in the batter's box. So hopefully he provides a little bit of shot in the arm.
Yeah, are you looking for a little bit of a spark up top?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Bo's such a good hitter, and everyone around the league knows it. He hits these guys fairly well too. So again, it's just nice to have him back. Just kind of, you don't want to. He's kind of a veteran now. Those guys have been around for a while, so it's nice to have him back. For a variety of different reasons.
The lineup's been kind of variable.
Yeah.
Are you looking for something more consistent, or do you want to leave it sort of loose?
You want to be consistent. I think Bo's let off before. He's comfortable doing it. And, if that sticks, for a while or for a short amount of time, we'll see. But, I like him coming up. I like him coming up as many times as you can. And you get him to the back end of the bullpen, he has the ability to hit really good pitching, too. So, see how it goes.
Getting Barger in left, I guess you just want another lefty in against Baya.
Yeah, for sure. He's tough with the sinker and the slider. And, this wall is weird. I think people that have played here, they say it's almost easier to play left here, which, again, I'm not taking anything away from the monster and how difficult it is, but guys that play here every day seem to have trouble with it. You never know where the ball's going to hit and kick. So comfortable and confident in Addy, to cover that ground out there. And, it's a easy throw for him from left to home with the arm that he has, too. So confident and comfortable with him out there, yeah.
You kind of looking to have maybe him run into one as well, I assume, is the idea.
Yeah, and he's getting close, man. I like his at bats. Still waiting for that first big league homer from him, but against a guy like this, keeps the ball on the ground. I think Addy has the ability to get the ball in the air and hopefully run in one.
That's Blue Jays manager John Schneider. Now, they did put Addison Barger in left field his first game in Kansas City. Different left field compared to Fenway Park. I wanted to talk to you about that, but about the monster. And it is true. People do say that it's actually one of the easier places. Oh, you just said it earlier. One of the easiest places to play left field. I would think that would be counterintuitive because everybody looks at the monster as this. It's the monster. Explain that, though.
Yeah, look, I can only think about that I have to now come in on the ball. I don't have to worry about going back on balls. Because
it's going to come back.
Well, not really, because if the ball's hit over you, it's going off that wall. You can't catch it anyway. So now I'm, more apt to play in. My first move would be in instead of back, right? It would, sort of eliminate that process of thinking that I have to cover both now. And, it's just about the angles. Most of the time when that ball's hit, it's going to trickle towards the center fielder than towards you because of just the way the angle is of the wall, right? It's that wall's not straight across. It's sort of it's sort of at an angle. So that way when that ball hits, it's kicking, away from you, the left fielder towards the center fielder. And KK being in center field, he was a very good route runner and a guy that backs up other defenders very, very well.
Right field's tougher at Fenway, isn't it? Because of the pole, the pesky pole? Or is it?
Yeah, look, I think having George in right field is a big deal.
Yeah. Say
what we want to say about his offensive side of the ball. Defensively, he's one of the better right fielders in baseball. So having him there, I would think it's a breath of fresh air. You get Addison as far away from the infield as possible. I mean, let's be honest. That's, again, I've talked to enough people that say the defensive side of the infield need to get better. Like, it's one thing to try and get the best offense on the field you can possibly get. It's another thing just to stick any dude anywhere. You got to stop doing that. So having Bo back defensively, allows you to put IKF where you want to put him, and you can hide whoever you want to hide at second base, and it sort of is what it is. So yeah, I think the defense is now kind of where they want it to be.
What does that do to you? What does the monster do to you as a hitter?
I loved it. Just tappy. Don't have to hit it hard over. Just tappy. Like, well, it's you've had any really good left-handed hitter that goes to Boston says I can get out of slumps going there. I don't have to do a ton. I just let it travel and punch it over there. And if I create a little backspin, I can get some cheap hits that way. And when you start getting hits, you gain confidence, and you can carry that on to wherever you're going next. So it's huge. Like, it's huge having that one little – David Ortiz came on our show and said that. I asked him that point blank, what's that wall do to you? And he said, keeps me out of slumps. Yeah. It's like bunting.
That's right.
It's like a bunt single. It's perfect. So, it's very hard for a righty to go in there and get out of slumps because now you got to pull the ball. You got to get, you got to beat the guy to the spot, especially how hard they throw now and those sliders down and away. That's what they're trying to do to Vladdy. They're trying to keep him away from the green monster. And sometimes you aim balls, you tend to miss location. And when you miss, good hitters make you pay for it. So, yeah, if you're a lefty, that's good cooking. Like you that's. But how many good left-handed hitters did Jace got?
You would ask me that. Bo leading off. Obviously, John gave us.
You want
his
my
reason.
honest opinion? I think it's dumb. That's me. I mean, I don't want to be mean about that, or John knows his team way better than I do. And, man, you talk about overthinking this thing. Holy moly. Like, and then Arden asked him about, you going to stick with this lineup, and he just don't really have an answer for you. It's like there's a couple of dudes you can always put in the same spot, and there's everybody else. You want to sprinkle around that leadoff spot? Hitting in the two holes, basically now that's your best hitter. Horwitz, your best hitter? Give me a break, dude. Like, seriously. Like, what do I know? Again, I work for – I'm on that Blair and Barker show.
Down is undecided.
I mean, it's really like nowadays.
No,
nowadays, it's like when they look at the Yankees and they got that donkey hitting in the two-hole. There's a reason why he's hitting in the two-hole now, because that's where you put your best hitter. Horwitz is your best hitter.
All right. Well, that was
it's like.
Yeah,
well, if you didn't say it, I was going to say it.
I can't disagree with you.
I'm going to say it. It's dumb. It's not smart.
Like, it's dumb. It's not smart. I mean, listen, I'm with you.
John for trying a bazillion things, but every once in a while you just got to go, my best two guys, Bo, Vladdy, 2, 3. Everybody else I could care less about. But them two dudes, rest of the season.
I got to tell you, I kind of like the idea of I like the idea of IKF or Horwitz leading off.
Yeah,
depending on how you want to play.
Cleanup here, they ain't got one. So who cares who hits cleanup? But who cares who hits 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th? But who cares?
But they get those guys have gotten on base. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
That's all I'm saying. I like it.
I mean, it's almost like they're thinking that you get Horwitz on in front of Vladdy. It's like
I'm sure there's a
computer that they're hooking somebody up to.
Computer that farted that out. I'm sure it makes sense to.
Yeah, I mean, my follow-up question would have been like, why? What makes you think Bo's better hitting in a leadoff spot than consistently putting him in the two-hole? Is he better than Horwitz? Are you better, or is Horwitz better than Bo?
Of course that.
Yes or no?
Of course they're going to win 14-1 tonight because of that.
You want to put your money where your mouth is? I like to eat the keg a lot.
I know you do.
I like the keg.
No.
Let's go.
Not a chance in hell.
Yeah. I'm sorry I pubbed the keg, but I do like that place.
We do. It is a place that we have been known to frequent.
The steaks are big.
Baseball steak.
I don't eat that filet. I'm a filet guy.
Yeah, I know.
I like the bacon.
That's a drop, by the way, Derek. I like the bacon. Keep that. And we're going to play that back. That's a drop. That's a drop for Barker.
How about the dumb part? That's a good one, too.
That's all right. So the MLB Network had this little segment today with Dan O'Dowd, former Major League General Manager. He was on along with Brian Kenny and Alex Avila on a show called MLB Now. And the topic was the Blue Jays. And the question asked of Dan O'Dowd, Blue Jays, should they blow it up? Here's what he said.
I say yes for this reason. There are so many teams that are involved in this year's pennant race. I feel like each GM and club executive has to know exactly where they are in the process. I think it's a large enough sample size for the Blue Jays executives, Mark and Ross, to realize this is not working. Now they have an opportunity, because they would be one of the few quality sellers in the marketplace, to reboot this thing really, really quickly. When I look at not just Bo and Vlad Jr., I'm looking at their entire starting pitching, and everyone but Kikuchi is controlled through the end of past the end of this year. They could really put their players on the market, and I think put themselves in a better competitive position 2 years from now than if they keep this group together. Second point and final point, Alex, you're the judge, but you're a player. So I'm appealing to you here. You know what chemistry looks like.
Judge, time, please.
You know what chemistry looks like, and you know what chemistry doesn't look like.
Finish.
This club is obvious does not have chemistry. That the sum of the parts do not equal the individual parts. You can't fix that. You got to start all over again.
Strong argument.
All right, that was Dan O'Dowd speaking with Brian Kenny. And
Alex,
you know why
Sevilla. Brian don't like that? Because there's no equation that he can plug it in and get chemistry out of it. That's why, right? There's no feelings in baseball. There's no mind when it comes to the khakis thinking, boy, how do I run this thing out there? And Dan, because he's been in them locker rooms before and actually had conversations with a player. How do you get through those bumps in the season when you just can't figure it out? Chemistry, I would think, is somewhat of a little bit of a thing. I could not agree more with him. Like I think if they continue down this road, again, you got to look at big picture here. You got to look at what your division's doing. They better than the Orioles. They better than the Yankees. They better than the Red Sox right now. The answer to those three questions is no. They're going to be better than those three teams into the season. Beginning of spring training, if they stick with the team that they got right now, the answer is probably no, right?
Yeah, well, they're not going to have the team they have right now.
You don't think so?
Well, no, Kikuchi's going to be gone. Danny's going to be gone. Garcia's going to be gone. I think I'm missing somebody. Justin Turner's going to be gone.
The guts of the team's still going to be here.
No,
I think to Dan's part,
there's just going to be two. No,
well,
it's Bo and Vladdy. The rest of the, maybe David
you still have
Schneider's
Springer,
here.
you still have Varsho, you still have Kirk. Like there's some. You still have the three, the pitchers and Gosman, Bassett. Like there's some still pieces. To Dan's point, I think is, if not now, when?
Well,
there's no better time.
I wonder. Dan mentioned this, and I wonder if maybe, we're not at a point with this team where. We've operated under we have taken the starting pitchers and put them over here when we've talked about what you move, when you move. We've talked about Kikuchi's probably is going to go as a free agent. Of course, Alec Manoah's not here. But
I've said one guy in the rotation.
But we've also kind of said, hey, Barrios, the core of this team is Barrios, Gosman, and Bassett. Now, I got to tell you this. Given the number of teams that are looking for starting pitching, I'm with you. I don't think Jose Barrios to me is the untouchable on this team of the
unless
pitchers.
They back the truck up one and say, here, take
you know what?
these guys.
It doesn't matter because because I'm gonna.
I mean, he can give you 6 innings at a loss.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if I get rid of him, the first thing I'm going to try to be doing is trying to replace him with an ace because Kevin Gosman. He's older. He's going to be a year older next year. He may not be your number one guy. The interesting case to me is Chris Bassett, because if you're another team, what did we talk about with the Braves a couple of years ago? How they were so hard to game plan for because we had this guy with this strength, this guy with this. Given the way pitching is right now in baseball, what do you think a contending team would do with Chris Bassett and his 400 pitches? Like, seriously, if you're going to a series, if you're going to a playoff series, you're in Chris Bassett. What are you going to get from Chris Bassett if you're an opposing team?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like, I know
because of his age. I'm not sure. I mean, let me ask you a question. For the Orioles, he pitched game 1, game 2, or game 3? No, and no.
Well, I mean, maybe.
So I think you've answered.
Burns.
I think you've answered your question. They are looking for better. I think. To your point,
what about the Milwaukee Brewers?
There you go. It's like the team that's not willing to give.
Tell you what. What about a team like the Houston Astros?
Yeah.
Guys hurt.
Yeah, like it's that.
Just Seattle's off the ledger. But let's just and I guess maybe because he's been in the American League recently, and now I know with interleague plays is a little different, but maybe if you're a National League team and you're looking for, if you're the Dodgers.
Something's better than nothing, I think, to your point, right? You'd rather get something for him.
Well, and you know what? And the thing I know with Chris Bassett is I mean, he's going to create some confusion in the other team.
Absolutely. Change the speeds. That big breaking ball will play in October.
Yeah, he is going to create confusion.
Against the right team, right?
Against the right team?
Get you some righties in there that don't have 7 lefties. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I just depends on, like, yet again, I think the obvious question that you have to ask yourself is, who does it? Is it this front office that does it? I think that's the first question that has to be answered, and it sounds like Dan's okay with the front office that's already here. I think that's the question, right? Is ownership okay with that? Is there a change that has to be made because of what hasn't been done the last 2 off seasons? We've talked about this, right? You eliminate 3 guys and you don't fill in the blanks with equal or better than those 3 guys.
This general manager's been good at spending money on pitching.
Yeah,
but
they've hit home runs on that.
Well,
Give
they
them
have.
credit.
And
run prevention will get them to the playoffs.
For whatever reason, we haven't seen it this year. Ross has also done a pretty good job repairing the bullpen on the fly. Now, they haven't done it this year, which is another topic and something I just think it's because they don't have a whole hell of a lot that they can move right now. You're not going to trade Chris Bassett to get a bullpen arm. You're not going to trade, like, that's the thing. They've got guys up here you would trade for something, but they don't have enough guys down here that could maybe bring you another Trevor Richards, or hell, even another Adam Simber.
Yeah.
But by and large, they've been able to address their pitching.
Yeah.
As for the heavier issues, I've kind of come to the conclusion right now that I don't want to trade Vladdy and Bo this in season. I don't know how serious those talks ever got. I've said this. I think I've been pretty consistent. That major move needs to be done in the offseason when I can move some pieces around and when I have a better idea of who's in the minor league system.
I think you got to be smart about what would get you the best back. Like, that's the whole point. You've said this is the most important thing this organization is going to do.
But I don't want
one of these 2 guys or both of these guys.
And I don't think you do that in season.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, I really do think you could trade one of them and sign one of them. It just screams Vladdy wants to be here. I mean, I've never talked to anybody that's around Vladdy that says Vladdy's not happy and doesn't want to be here.
No, that is an interesting point.
I've never had a conversation with anybody that's ever said that about Vladdy. And let's be honest, it ain't going to cost you $1 bazillion anymore to get Vladdy. It's just not. No. It's just not going to do that. What the number would be, I have no idea. But I'm sure you could meet in the middle.
I don't even think you'd have to meet in the middle. I think you could do. Frankly, I think you could do a Vladdy contract.
And I'm sure true fans of the Blue Jays wouldn't be unhappy with that. Yeah. They would not.
But we need to move off you hear Ross talk about there has to be shared risk. There has to be shared risk. Vladdy plays every day. He either DHs or
I don't know what that means. I'm sure.
So don't give me that.
You know what that means.
Yeah.
That means he's asking for a lot, and we're not willing to give a lot. You got to meet us in the middle. That's what that means. Let's not lie about that. You can read between. Jay, you've been around long enough to read between the lines when it comes to that. So
no,
I think it's Vladdy's shown you that every single day he's playing. And he's going to play good enough defense.
The point I've made all along about these 2 guys. Now, Bo's been hurt this year, but Vladdy plays every people. This is what makes my head explode.
Yeah, I don't think people say that anymore, do they?
No, but this is what makes my head explode that people don't give Vladdy enough credit for. I mention this all the time. When he broke in, we thought this guy's fat.
Yeah,
he may break down.
I don't think people care about that anymore. They care about getting it down, getting it singing.
That's what I'm saying.
One-way ticket to Back Leg City.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what it is.
But even at the end of his first year, I mean, I was on the show at the end of the year with Buck Martinez, and Buck made the point, and he was the only one to do it, that we were talking about, what'd you make of Vladdy's first year? What does he have to improve on? And we're going. Buck said, well, let's just say one thing. People who thought that he was only going to play 82 games a year because he was going to break down, Vladdy an apology. Vladdy was over. Let me finish. Vladdy was Vladdy was overweight. We talked about all this.
Well, I'm
going to give the guy.
They were telling you they were worried about that because they put him at first.
Yeah, okay.
They didn't leave him at third. So give the organization a little bit of credit for realizing that as quick as possible.
I give Vladdy more credit than anybody.
You give him credit for adjusting and being a good first baseman. When's the last time I said that his footwork wasn't real good? Now all of a sudden he's using the edges. When's the last time you seen him run over there and stand right in the middle of the bag and stretch where he wasn't supposed to be stretching? It's rare that he does that. So give him credit with that. It's just the things he does offensively. I think that's where everybody's at. And again, there's some decisions here that Dan's not wrong about.
Yeah.
It's just who does it. That's the thing. And how comfortable do you feel as a fan if it's this front office? That's the thing, right? I mean, they have a blueprint now for me. You can run, prevent, make the playoffs. You ain't going to win games just run preventing. You got to thump, so you got to do both. Now they have a blueprint to do it. I think that's to Dan's point. You can get there quicker. If you trade the right guys, get the right pieces back, you could do it in a hurry, and it ain't going to look at – because you got to be obvious here that the two behemoths in the American League East are behemoths now, and they're going to stay there for a while. It seems that way. So how do you play catch up? And it might give you just a little bit of a window to reboot and do what you have to do to keep fans happy, because that's the thing. You want that. You want people to eyeballs to the sets.
Hey, let me ask you this: so, do you think? I
think Dan's right.
You look at the Jays lineup right now. You look at the Red Sox lineup. The Red Sox lineup's not that sexy. They're fun to watch, though. You think fans here would like that team?
Yeah, I think they would like Duran. Who else? And Devers. Obviously Devers, the Big Daddy hack from the plays third every time. You'd like that. Boy, hard-hitting questions you asking me today.
I just, it's like.
It's not a job I'd want, because I'm not sure. It seems to be an easy answer, us coming on this show and talking it out. But when you start dealing with individuals and players who have been through it in this organization, I would assume it's not the easiest of answers. So it ain't me, thank goodness. It's having to make that mind up for everybody. I like the bacon.
There you go. We got the bacon drop. 7:10 will be the first pitch tonight from Fenway Park.
Winning edition
of Blue Jays Talk following the game. Kevin Gossman against Brian Bale. You sure?
I'm not confident.
I am confident tonight. I'm confident.
If Vladdy lays off the sinker and off the plate, it'll be a winning edition. If he doesn't, we'll be talking about a misplay.
I'm calling it right now. Bo's going to have a big game. The leadoff spot. I'm talking 3 for 4, a couple of runs scored.
You think it's because he's leading off?
I think it's because he's leading off.
Fingers crossed.
I think that's one of those moves. And then, of course, you know what'll happen tomorrow? He'll be hitting third. 7:10 will be
third. Clean up.
7:10's the first pitch. Blair and Barker will be back tomorrow from 4 to 6 Eastern on Sportsnet 590. The Fan of Sportsnet, provided they let us. I'm sure they will. Hockey's over. We're going to fill with something else. Have a great day.